On Friday, the Biden regime held its first cabinet meeting since July, and the question is, why? What is the point of this cabinet? What good do they do? Last week, we noted how refreshing it was to see elected leaders like Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears be positive and practical, the feel-good factor, instead of the Democrats non-stop moralizing and patronizing and virtue signaling and dividing. These Republican winners talk about solving real problems. Trump did that, of course. The best economy in history, taxes down, regulation down, jobs up, earnings up, blue-collar boom, securing the border, standing up to China, rebuilding the military, independence in energy. He even solved problems he didn't promise to. With Trump, thanks to the natural gas revolution, America's carbon emissions fell to the lowest level in 30 years. Tell that to the Green New Deal climate zealots. But under Biden, it's not just that they're not solving problems, it's much worse. Let's examine the life cycle of a problem in this omni-shambles. That is the Biden regime. Stage 1, create the problem. So when you inherit a growing economy, make sure you overheat it with a $1.9 trillion spending spree. Every time you see rising prices, remember, it's not some natural disaster. It was created by Biden and the Democrats with that first giant spending bill in March. Who says that? Democrats. Obama economic advisor Jason Furman described Biden's rescue plan as, quote, the original sin. And here is Clinton's Treasury Secretary just this week.
They're just not recognizing just how much demand is being created by the tremendous wall of money, 15% of GDP in 1 year that they released last spring.
What we infused was very large, and it was kind of predictable that it would lead to excess demand and inflation. There was never a macroeconomic analysis demonstrating that this was an appropriate plan. It came out of a whole range of political machinations.
And then to really help with the inflation crisis you've created, why not create an energy crisis? What better way to make the price of everything go up than by raising the cost of energy, which is a key component of industry? So, cancel pipelines, ban natural gas, close down nuclear power. Energy supply goes down, the price goes up, and you hit working Americans hard. $5 gas, winter fuel up 50%. That'll show them. But it's okay because you just send people money for months on end, which of course helps you create a supply chain crisis as people stay home and businesses can't find workers. So they raise their wages, which means their costs go up, which means they have to put their prices up, which is all great for the Biden problem creators because that pushes inflation even higher. And once you've created the problems, you move to Biden omni-shambles stage 2. Deny and dismiss the exact problems you created. There's no energy crisis, are you kidding?
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Would that I had the magic wand on this.
Inflation? No, that's not a thing. And even if it is a thing, it's only temporary, it's transitory.
Transitory impact on prices, transitory effects, transitory impacts. Their expectation is that these inflation rises will be transitory.
It's just going to pop up a little bit and then go back down.
Just pop up a little bit. And that's okay, they say, because wages are going up too. And they're right, wages are going up. Only problem is, inflation is going up faster. Of course, there's no supply chain crisis. You just need to, lower your expectations. And the reason you can't find anything in the stores is because the economy is actually doing great.
The tragedy of the treadmill that's delayed.
Right. There are 1,000 points in that chain where something can go wrong, and we're seeing a lot of those points reveal themselves because of the enormous demand.
Enormous demand! It's all going so well. And even if there was a supply chain crisis, they can't actually tell you what they're doing about it.
So I don't have the specifics for you right now. It's going to be broken down into agencies. The specifics on that, I don't have to share with you today.
What they can share is that there's no problem with businesses not being able to find workers. They just need to pay more.
In some places, it may be that you have to pay more wages in order to attract workers.
Thanks, Jen. Any other advice? I'm sure we're all ears, considering you and the rest of the Omnishambles crew have never created a job in your entire lives. Now, once you've finished denying and dismissing the problems you created, you can move to Biden Omnishambles Stage 3. Make the problems worse. So, make the energy crisis worse by closing down even more pipelines. Even better, close down American energy businesses.
Here what I'm thinking about is primarily coal industry and oil and gas industry. A lot of the smaller players in that industry are going to probably go bankrupt in short order. At least we want them to go bankrupt if we want to tackle climate change, right?
Right. Make the inflation crisis worse by pushing ahead with your mad federal government centralization scheme to spend even more trillions of dollars. Then make the supply chain crisis worse with your plan to solve it. Yes, indeed. Since Biden announced his plan to unjam the ports a month ago, guess what? The ports have gotten more jammed, with more delays and more backlogs. Honestly, it takes real skill to be this incompetent, this unserious. And then, to cover up the fact that your actual supply chain solution is making the problem worse, you desperately try to claim that your infrastructure bill, which will only start to be implemented the year after next if you're lucky, will get things moving next week. Except don't tell your transportation secretary, who's come up with a new way of saying that no, actually, we're not really talking about shovel-ready projects.
The emphasis is going to be on shovel-worthy projects, some of which are ready to go immediately.
Shovel-worthy. That's going to get the ports unjammed, is it? Shovel-worthy. Where do they get these people? Oh, McKinsey, yeah, that would explain it. And don't forget, you can also make the supply chain crisis worse by firing unvaccinated workers. And while you're at it, fire Border Patrol agents for being unvaccinated, while creating new financial incentives for unvaccinated illegal immigrants to enter the country so you can make the border crisis that you created worse. Come to think of it, that would also help make the economic crisis worse by importing more cheap labor so American workers can continue to stay at home and get the ever higher welfare checks you're planning to send them. Brilliant! You see, it all makes sense. And actually, we were told about the Biden Omnishambles. We just didn't listen. Forget about poor, naive Democrat Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger and her pithy observation that Biden was not elected to be FDR. He was elected to be normal and stop the chaos. That's what she thought. The person who knew Biden best knew different. Obama, he did warn us. Never underestimate Joe's ability to F things up. How right he was.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.